All right, your party wants to pole vault the 10-foot pit. I don't look for a rule. I eyeball the pole, the weight, the risk. Roll maybe, but more likely I decide. That's the OSR. Fast, fair, no rulebook dive. And if you want a DM like that, confident, creative, rulings not rules. Well, here's how. Let's start with what it means by to run old school. It's not nostalgia. It's not just Thaco. Trust me, it's not just Thaco. It's about player ingenuity over character ability. You describe, I, the GM, rule. The dice, they're tools. They're not crutches. So today I will give you the full toolkit to use the parts that work best for you to run like a veteran, even if you're new. Now, if remember, rulings, not rules. This is the backbone of this. When a player does something unexpected, walk through this simple frame. I'm going to spell it out for you. Maybe I'll put it on a sheet you can download. Intent, excuse me, approach, procedure, and outcome. What do I mean by that? Intent. What do they want? What do they want to accomplish? Approach. How do they want to try it? Procedure. Is it a roll? Is it a check? Is it my judgment? An outcome. What changes? So, quick example. Intent. They want to distract the ogre. Approach. They want to toss flour into the campfire. Okay. You're like, all right. Savor's breath weapon. Outcome. Ogre's blinded. Party charges. That is, quite simply, rulings over rules. And we don't have a rule for that, right? But you don't want to constrict your party, your players, to the rules. So you go with rulings. Procedures over prep. This is how I do things. Others are a bit more prep heavy. I am not. Don't necessarily prep the story, prep the procedures. What do I mean by that? Exploration every 10 minutes in a dungeon, right, is generally wandering lunch to check. On a 1 in 6 if they're quiet, maybe a 2 in 6 if they're noisy. Something pops up. What can I tell you? You got reaction rolls. Roll 2d6. Are they friendly? Are they disinterested? Are they aggressive? Morale. First monster drops, leader drops, half of them drop. All these times are when you can roll morale. These all affect the game. They affect the story. And it's the clockwork that makes your game sing. It creates pacing. It creates risk and realism. And you're not scripting a single thing. Telegraph danger. Don't ever spring. I hate this, right? I'm sure you did too. The gotcha trap. There's that pit trap. There was no hint for it, but you just step right into it. The OSR sweet spot is informed risk. Give players clues, scorch marks, strange smells, whispers of movement, dampness, whatever it is. And if they still walk into danger, that's on them. And it feels earned, right? That's what it should feel. When in doubt, drop a hint or three. It doesn't hurt. It can only help. Information beats rolls. If you've ever played in a Greg Gillespie game at a convention, you will see he garbage in, garbage out. All right. The more questions you ask, the better the answers you receive, the more likely you won't have to roll. Because you can solve the problem. Get around the trap, evade the trap, disarm the trap by thinking it out. Let players solve problems with their brains, not their character sheets. We don't have DC's difficulty challenges or crap like that. The OSR. Describe the obstacle and describe it clearly. Don't say, I roll for your perception. I've run for 5e players. When I'm an OSR. I've heard it. Say you see a line of soot, like something burned along the floor, and then let them start asking questions. Because that is where the game evolves. Prep less. Okay. Here's my 1-page prep, as much as it is. Get a map. I often use the itch.io 1-page dungeon generator. I look for something that's generally small, but hey, maybe depending on the adventure I want to run, maybe it's larger. Key a few rooms with a sentence each. And honestly, if you're an OSR GM, you probably know the monster stats for almost everything you're going to run. You might not have to put down more than an AC and hit points. But have, if it's large enough, a couple of actions, 2, maybe 3, right? Random tables for random encounters, random tables for dungeon dressing. Raging Swan Press has some awesome books on this stuff, especially for dungeon dressing. There are random encounters. Listen, you can use ChatGPT, Grok, one of the other AI services. I guess Gemini is Google's. I think Grok kindly put it the best. AI is the ultimate random table generator. If you're using tools like this, you can probably prep in under an hour, and the world will feel alive because it reacts to your players. So I wrote an example here. Room 7. It's a smelter shrine. Players enter the room. There's heat haze, the stink of slag, 2 goblins praying to an iron idol. Treasure, some coins, maybe gold. Risk? Well, if they fight the goblins, the iron head could fall into the smelter. What happens? Well, it splashes, 2d6 damage, potentially. Maybe your players want to do a little smart play and ask about that. Because you told them about the heat. You told them about the slag stink. You're setting things up for them. Let them react. Random tables, like I said, are your co-GM. Use them, love them. Rumors, signs, dungeon dressing. Each roll is a spark, and don't be afraid to work off your players. If they go, oh, I think X is happening in this ruins, caves, whatever, and it's better than the way you set up, don't feel bad about going with what they conjured up, because maybe it's a better deal than what you have. They'll feel special because wow, we were right. And you're going, wow, that was brilliant from my players, and I'm glad I used it. When something random happens, connect it to what's already in play, and then it doesn't seem as random. It seems natural. It seems evolutionary. You rolled a, I don't know, random table, scarecrow fetish in the wild. Well, maybe the goblin cult from the shrine is spreading their influence. Maybe it has more meaning. Maybe your players will surmise that and then go along with it because, hey, that was a good idea. Reaction rolls make first contact unpredictable. Morale makes combat end before it drags on. And I know we've all spoken or talked about how long combat takes in 5e. Listen, OSR combat, higher levels can drag if you don't use morale. Use morale. Not every monster will fight to the death. Sometimes they'll parlay, they'll bolt, they'll surrender. That's the life of an adventurer, right? Resource pressure. Shadow Dark does this pretty well, right? With the torch timer. Torches, food, weight, they matter. Not because we're accountants and a lot of this stuff gets hand waved at some point, but scarcity creates tension. Again, Shadow Dark does it very well. Now, if you don't want to necessarily track full time, you can use like a usage dice on the torch. It's D6 on a 1 or a 2. You step down to a D4, and then on the D4, if you roll a 1, the torch goes out. It makes it random. Players aren't necessarily counting. You don't know how long the torch is going to last. When the light flickers, the players will feel the dungeon closing in. Treasure equals XP. Less important for convention games, and I run a lot of convention games, which is why I run Swords Wizardry Light, but there at a convention, the motivation is to accomplish the goal because they've got a certain time frame. But when you're talking in a sandbox, a hex crawl, a campaign, treasure is motivation. It makes players explore instead of simply grind out combat. There's a reason why Gary and Dave gave XP for gold. You had to figure out how to get it out of the dungeon. And it made players think about evading and going around obstacles as opposed to combating things head on. It made for thinking. You could use XP for carousing, right? That's certainly, I think Shadowberg does that too. But gold is clean, risk equals reward, and gold equals story. Player skill, not the character sheet. Make puzzles that respond to creative play. Don't make puzzles that are impossible to solve. They should be solvable. And they shouldn't be overly complicated. Because remember, your players aren't actually there. They're not actually looking at the statue, the pedestal, the altar. But give something that they can latch onto and solve. Don't hide the solution behind a roll if you can help it. Let them earn the solution. This is important. All right. This one I can't stress enough. A rulings log. When you make a ruling that works, maybe it doesn't work. All right. After the game session, you're like, that didn't work too well. But you make a ruling that works, you made a new house rule. Put it in the log. Okay. I'm not talking Joe Lawyer's 20 pages of house rules, but I'm just saying, you make a ruling, put it in the log. Next time it comes up, same call. You're being fair. Your players trust your fairness, and they trust that you have set a precedent. If the players stall, don't lecture. Just advance the clock. Okay? Saw this with Greg Gillespie. Yeah. Are you going to keep this conversation going, or are you going to move on? You're fine with either one, but you keep the conversation going, and that D6 comes out, and somebody is rolling for Wandering Monsters. A little time pressure keeps the game sharp. Torches burn low, footsteps echo, choices demand action. Spotlight sharing. This is important, especially at a convention game. You can have some players that are maybe a little shyer. They're playing with strangers. They feel less confident. Every player deserves a moment. Every player should get a chance to potentially shine. Go around the table. Quiet player. Ask them what they're doing while the others are acting. Even a line as simple as, "Are you listening for anything? What are you listening for?" You make them part of the story. Once you engage them, it's likely they'll stay engaged. Description that drives decisions. I often don't use this as completely as I should. I probably need to put this on an index card to remind myself of this when I'm at conventions. Use 3 senses and 1 verb. What do I mean by that? Heat licks your face, metal tang in the air, orange glow flickers, chains creak, footsteps echo. All this stuff adds dimension to the game, to the adventure. And OSR combat isn't balanced. It's not meant to be balanced. It's situational. Give, for lack of a better phrase, give terrain tags, a narrow ledge, a hanging chain, a furnace pit. Give your players an opportunity to use their surroundings to their benefit. Players win by using the world, not just the dice. People talk about how, well, the OSR is lethal. It's extremely lethal when you're not giving your players the tools to expand and use their player abilities as opposed to their character abilities. NPCs. NPCs should effectively run themselves. What do I mean? You don't need stat blocks for 9 out of 10 NPCs. You don't. It's a waste of time. You need goals, you need quirks, and you need behavior. For example, Dara the Smelter Priest. Okay. She's proud. She sings her prayers. And she had her idols stolen and wanted back. So players are interacting with her. They butter her up and talk about how great her crafting is, how great she is at smelting and forging. They gain an ally. They mock her god or her singing. They gain an enemy. But this makes the world live. It gives the game depth. Factions and rumors. Build your world from conflict, not plots. 2 factions with goals, 6 rumors, 2 ticking clocks. That's enough to make your campaign feel alive. There is movement. There is activity. There is stuff going on that the players aren't directly involved in. If your players steal the Goblin Idol, the priest retaliates in 2 days. Choices matter. Whatever they do, there should be a potential of something linked to it. Downtime, right? Between adventures, between delves, between expert treasure finding, the players blow their gold. Carousing, crafting, research. You spend 100 gold pieces, you get 1 roll, 1 story seed. All right, you rolled a 4. You wake up with a pawned relic and a debt marker. Congratulations. That little bit has written a future adventure for you. Because that is something the players are going to want to follow up on. They're going to become invested. If you're going to start out with house rules, and honestly, all of us do. Okay, in the OSR, we always like to make the rules our own. So don't do 20 pages of house rules. Don't do 10 pages of house rules. Pick 3 initially. Maybe you don't like encumbrance, so you're going to go with slots. Maybe you don't like counting off the turns on a torch. You want to use those usage dice I mentioned. Maybe you want to use like an axe style table for injuries. Go down to 0 hit points. Flip the body over. Maybe you're dead. Maybe you're alive. You've got injuries. It's simple. It's memorable and fun. You don't bog your players down with a lot of stuff that isn't useful. The players dicker, sorry. Start a timer. Okay, say, hey, look at your watch. Combat's dragging. Check morale, see if they break. Again, tie XP to treasure. Getting bogged down in the rules, go back to that intent, approach, procedure, outcome. It is a great way to, and we do that instinctively often as OSR GMs. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me what you want to accomplish. I'll figure out how we get there, potentially. And if we do get there, we'll figure out what the outcome is. So, turns and counter dice. Reaction. Morale. Time. Time passes. Don't forget the 3 clues. If you're running a campaign, Austin, we're going to probably want to do gold or treasure for XP. It keeps them from grinding through all those enemies. Keep a log, keep a book of your house rules as you create them, as they evolve in your campaign. And run that loop, and you will have a table that feels alive. I can pretty much guarantee that. You don't need permission to DM old school. You just need procedures and the trust of your players. So, on that note, like, subscribe, got free content and free tables on the both the go to the posting section of this video, of this channel, and you'll see we got Magic Item tables. Some are free, some are behind the membership wall. But grab the free stuff for all. Hopefully it helps your game. And if you folks want it, let me know. Maybe I'll do an episode on running reaction and morale checks. So, keep the players guessing. Keep those torches lit. I'll catch you all later. God bless.